welcome everybody. We would be starting here momentarily. Feel free to drop in the chat where you're from. And today we're going to ask, like, if there's you can share a little bit about your experience, what tool kit you're familiar with, what stack you're using, all that kind of stuff. Drop it in the chat while we wait for others to join here. Also, if you've attended previous sessions, you can say attended previous sessions. So we'll be starting here momentarily. Go ahead, Wokkah. Is Praise Otuka here? Praise is the winner of the raffle this week. She basically was the first person to share on LinkedIn her work. So if Praise is here, we're gonna get you. The team is gonna send you 20,000 Naira. Congratulations, Praise, and great job. You're welcome, Praise. Great job. One thing I liked about what you did was you also shared what you did on GPT and just how you went through it. And the fact that you're already here, on time is also a testament to the fact that you're putting in effort. So congrats. Those who have prior knowledge in coding, in using, maybe in doing like APIs, in working on backend, if you do, drop it on the chat, say I do. If you have prior knowledge in coding, maybe you do front end, you do back end. So Praise, you do front end and back end. What, if share what you do. If you do front end, if you do back end, share exactly what you do. super excited to see that a lot of people who have back-end, front-end experience. This is exciting. This is exciting to see, because then you can take, your knowledge of Lovable, Cursor, all of these tools that you've been learning over time, and you can start using it to build some of these really cool tools, Praise, are you good on back end, front end as well? You're into web development. So WordPress, Shopify, what do you use? Okay. Very good. You're learning software development. Fantastic. Yeah, so if you use WordPress, you use Shopify, don't hesitate. Let nothing stop you. There's opportunities for everyone in different spaces. So you want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward. We're paying attention to these names, by the way, guys. I'm a data scientist, awesome. If you're into data science, share some of the things that you're working on. Are you into computer vision? Are you into, what tool do you use? You use Python. Are you familiar with APIs? Share the things that share the tools that you use. We're going to be getting started here very soon. And Shegun will be I said Shegun. Isaac will be walking us through a little bit on the technical side today. So that's the reason I was asking for skills. Oh, Messi, Loha, Yusuf, SEO. You are really good with SEO. Fantastic. Are you good with AEO? AEO, answer engine optimization. You train deep learning models with PyTorch. Fantastic. Okay, for everyone who is joining, I want you to reach out to your friends and tell them to connect. We're about to get started. We don't want anybody to be left behind. So share on the DSN group chats, just making sure everybody's aware that we're about to get started, so that we don't get left behind. Okay, I see people joining. I'm into regression and classification algorithms. That's really good. Logistic regression is a really good tool to know. For Mercy, if you have some work that you've done, send the work to admin. Mercy, you've done SEO. If you have some work you've done, send to admin.wokka.com. Thanks, Elijah, for sharing that. Mercy, you've done SEO. You have some work to show for it. Send your info to admin@wokka.com. If there are people who are familiar with Shopify in the house as well, feel free to send your resume to admin@wokka.com. And praise Otuka, make sure you send your phone number to Ibukun, Samuel, Orenaiki, and Elijah. You know how to get things squared away with praise. All right. We're not going to waste any further time. I'm going to hand it over to Isaac. And make sure you're taking you're taking notes, learning. Isaac will give you an exercise or an assignment for the next week, and just make sure you take care of it. Ibukun, you have the number. Praise. All right, Isaac, take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Yan. So good day or good evening or good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are or wherever you might have joined. And thank you so much for joining today. Uh, we believe it's going to be an interesting section, just like we had the last time. And I could remember that the last week we talked about some key things, we talked about no code, AI code generations. We had talked about vibe codes as well, where we also mentioned, we talked about the basics first, even before going into the practical. Probably for those who joined late, we talked about artificial intelligence, what no code or vibe code AIs are, the use cases, where they are being used, the advantages over um, building, writing codes and the likes. We also talked about the different platforms available out there. We talked about a series of things, and then we did a live demo. We tried to build a CGPA calculator, and at the same time, we tried to um, work on an application that I had installed on my system, where we tried to see how we could actually make some adjustments using Cursor. And I believe you guys must have practiced it. And I don't know if there's anybody who did something. I think I saw somebody's work on LinkedIn, very interesting, something related to pharmacy and the likes. And I saw a couple of people as well who also did something interesting. This is actually good. It goes ahead to encourage us on how some of these things are. And if you remember the last time as well, we talked about some of the statistical reports stating that over 40% of the codes on Google Copilot on what's it called, GitHub, is actually written by AIs, whereby there's an involvement of either Google Copilot or any other AI tools and the likes. And we talked about the fact that even at some points, when it comes to contribution, making life easy on Stack Overflow and some other platforms, a lot of developers tend to run down to AI codes, and we have we talked about a series of things. So now we're talking about something much more interesting, and I believe um, I like the fact that Dr. Yano actually asked the question, who among you write codes? And I can see some people who actually write code. And because today now we're going into something more technical and more interesting and more interesting. And we're dealing with a platform called Crew AI. We're dealing with a platform called Crew AI. But before we go into that, let me just see, probably on the comment section, just put something that you're able to do and the platform you're able to use to do it. Probably you're able to build an app and what platform was actually used to do that. So, remember last week we talked about the fact that we have a couple of platforms out there that could be used. We used Lovable. We have Replit, we have boot.new, we have series of them. So which one did you build? What application did you build, and what tool did you use? You can drop that in the comment section for the next few seconds or minutes. I'm expecting feedbacks. Okay. Someone is building a website, or someone built a website using Wix. Okay, Lovable and then Superbase. Okay. And you can see that some of these applications being built, it was just within few minutes, or let's just say probably few hours, like that. And one thing that this actually helps you to know is to know how to interact with machines, more like how to interact with machines, how to um, express your mind. That is, in a way, you're becoming a prompt engineer as well, which is actually an addition or a plus to you. If you can relate to machines, um, I believe human beings might be more complex, but at the same time, you are getting there. So let's go down to what we have to do today. Can you all see my screen? Sorry, I think. Can you all see my screen? I can just give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay, yeah. So today we'll be looking at a platform called Creo AI. Now we'll be looking at a platform called Creo AI. So let me just do a brief introduction about what Creo AI is. Oh no, before even going into that, I think it's better to do a brief introduction of what we're actually dealing with today. And there's no talk about Creo AI without talking about, I believe, the first meeting or the first lecture you had. Probably something must have been said about the agentic AIs and the likes. So what are Creo AIs? Let's start with that. So we can see from what I'm sharing on my screen, this is the official documentation page for Creo AI, but this is the website itself for Creo AI. So just if you want to go to Creo AI, just type Creo AI on your Google, and then the first result you get there takes you to this page. And if you want to check the documentation, just type Creo AI space documentation, and then the first result you get there also takes you to this page here. And if you look at what we have here, we have if you okay, let me just run you through some of the advantages of Creo AI. There are other platforms available out there that does almost the same thing, but some have limitations, some don't have limitation. We have Hagno, we have Google ADK, we have Landgraph as well. So these are platforms that does something relatively close to Creo AI, but Creo AI in its own has some advantages that I see in the sense that you have what's it called? I think it's something they are both they boldly write on their website. I'm trying to search for it. Um, okay, we'll get there. So now we can see that okay, now this is it. The fact that they have multi-agent platform, and when we talk about multi-agents, there's no we can talk about it without talking about agentic AI or what are agents, AI agents. Now, when we talk about AI agents, we're talking about systems or softwares that can actually perceive its environment, make decisions, and then take actions to achieve specific goals, often probably using language models like GPT and the likes. But now, when we talk about agentic AI, we're actually going further to talk about something much more interesting. Um, I believe a lot of you are familiar with using ChatGPT and the likes. You know that it's more of a question and then response kind of thing. You give it questions, it responds, and the likes. But when you talk about agentic AI, we're talking about something much more interesting, and interesting in the sense that it doesn't just get what you want to do, it goes ahead to do it for you, take decisions, and the likes. So, an agentic AI, we can actually refer to it as an artificial system, artificial intelligence systems that actually behaves like agents. That is, they act autonomously, pursue their goals, make decisions, and then interact with the world. Now, let's say, for example, now if you go to ChatGPT and then you type something on ChatGPT, you type, okay, I want to book, let's say, for example, I want to book an a flight for tomorrow by 9 a.m. ChatGPT will never go ahead to actually help you book the flight. What it would actually do is it will check if the flight is even available. And whereas you might be surprised to see the limitation of some of these chat GPTs or these GPT softwares that you see out there. Some of them, the limitations they have is the fact that probably they are not built to learn beyond a certain duration. Let's say, for example, now, let's say chat GPT, you have 2024. Anything after 2024, it might not be able to learn after that, except it is trained with it. So the data set being gotten at that point to be able to act on it actually has a limitation of duration. and some other platforms like that as well. If you check out there, you see a lot of platforms which actually does the same thing. So, but for agentic AI actually goes beyond that. It goes to the level of trying to learn, trying to learn from the questions you've asked. It goes ahead to check the availability of such, let's say, for example, it checks for the availability of if there's a flight for tomorrow for that time. Probably you actually prompted it to consider the weather conditions as well. It goes ahead to do that. Then at the same time, goes ahead to book for you, book the the airline for you, and then make some certain decisions for you. So when you talk about agentic AI, you're talking about something um, that has an initiative, memory, and then it has a purpose, and it actually performs a task. So when we talk about agentic AI, you're dealing with something that has probably some characteristics. One of them is the fact that it is goal-driven. That is, it actually operates based on a defined purpose and gives you a result based on that. Also, the fact that it is actually autonomous, that it takes its initiative without even requiring any constant input or probably or constant human input. Let me put it like that. It doesn't require you to ask. Don't forget the way ChatGPT work. You ask questions, it goes ahead to do things. Probably you have a follow-up questions and the likes. But agentic AI learns from the way you behave most times and then gives you goes ahead to make decisions on your behalf. So it's also one of the things that is actually very important to the agentic AI, or that makes it stand out, is the fact that it's actually aware of the context, that is this context aware. So what it does is it tries to remember the previous actions you've taken or the previous results you've gotten before, and then tries to go ahead to give you something worthwhile or make decisions on your behalf. And these are tools. They have tools out there that you can actually use to go about most of these things. So and one thing again about agentic AI is the fact that it also can actually use a plan and then execute complex tasks over multiple steps. So these are some of the things that are actually possible with agentic AI. Now, a practical example that I can actually use is Creo AI. Now, where does the word Creo AI comes in, or what makes it Creo AI? So you're actually dealing with a situation whereby you have different AI tools or AI agents that work together to tackle a complex task. That is where Creo AI comes into the picture. And we've talked about what AI agents are. And from definition of what I said regarding AI agents, I think I mentioned, if I remember very well, I talked about it being a software program that actually perceives its environment, makes decisions, and then take actions to achieve a specific goal. So now, when we now talk about Creo AI, you're talking about a role-based AI personnel designed to perform specific tasks within multi-agent workflows. That is, multiple agents, trying to see how you can have multiple agents to make something to reality. Now, let me give you an example of when we talk about multiple agents or having multiple agents in a scenario. Now, looking at this scenario whereby I used an illustration of an airline system whereby you're trying to book, and then on a normal day, it knows that, okay, it is supposed to book for the flight. But there are some other considerations that might actually occur that would require you to think, or that are dependent on that. Now, one of them is before you even go to a country, especially a country that actually permits visa. Let's say, for example, now I want to go to United States of America. The first thing is I need to have a visa. So one of the things that it does is it tries to check if you actually have some of these credentials to be able to qualify to do some things. Now, that is an agent. You can actually create an agent of such to do that. You can create an agent of such to actually do that. Create an agent to be able to handle everything that has to do with immigration. You create an agent to also be able to handle anything that has to do with weather. You create an agent to be able to handle anything that has to do with your booking of flight and the like. And all of these things being brought together. That's what is achievable with Creo AI, so that it builds an AI agent sim that works together to tackle complex tasks. So I just explained what the introduction here actually entails. So we said Creo AI is a lean lightning-fast Python framework built entirely from scratch, completely independent of LangChain and other agent frameworks. CrewAI empowers developers with both high-level simplicity and precise low-level control ideas for creating autonomous agents. Remember, I mentioned that one of the key features of agentic AI is the fact that it has the power to actually work autonomously. So, and now when we talk about Crew AI, there are some key things we'll be discussing. We have the Crew. Sorry, I don't know. We actually clicked on something. Okay. Someone is requesting for translation. I think Mr. IBK, you can assist with the pop-up that I just got. So let's continue from where we stopped. So we have Crew AI, Crew AI crews. They actually optimize for autonomy and collaborative intelligence that is enabling you to create AI teams where each agent has specific roles, tools, and goals. We'll look at some of these things very soon. Now, on Crew AI, we have over 60% of, let's say over 60% of the top companies actually making use of them. Let me see, I think they have some of their agents or some of their leading partners. Somewhere here you can see, I believe you're all conversant or you're familiar with some of these companies here. They're actually trusted by some of the leading industries out there, and we have a couple of them. Now for Crew AI, I'm not saying that we'll be leaving out ChatGPT, either OpenAI or Gemini or whatsoever tool we may be using. We're not leaving that out. We're only trying to see how we can actually make use of them to come up with something. So let me use a practical example of the advantage that Crew AI actually provides. Sorry that my stories are even more than the practical. We'll do the practical aspect, but I just wanted us to see the theoretical aspect even before going into it. Now, I don't know if you're still following me. Yeah, I would assume that we're still following. So now look at this architecture, look at these diagrams that you have here. Remember I said Crew AI has to do with multiple agents. Now you have one agent here and then you have the other agents here, and at the same time they try to see how they can perform different tasks and then give you a final outcome. So that is the aim, to see how you can have multiple agents performing different tasks and then giving the final output. Then we have some key components involved in it. We have the Crew itself, which has to be a top-level organization that manages all the AI teams that are available. It oversees the workflows in the entire work. It ensures for collaboration and then delivers an outcome. Then we have the AI agents, which I just mentioned, which are just like specified members. Let's take, for example, now, imagine we are trying to build a block system, or let's even say, okay, let's use an example of probably a researcher and then a writer, or how should I put it, a researcher, and let's use a blog as an illustration. Now we could have an agent that actually handles the aspect of creating the blog, doing a proper research, and then sending something out. And then we also have a station whereby someone mentioned something related to SEO the other time. We could have an agent which is actually built for the purpose of SEO, try to see how that can actually gain visibility by using search engine optimization mechanisms or tools out there. Now, these are just some of the things. We could also have projects as interesting as having something complex or complicated. And also we can have something very easy as well to do. So then we talk about the process as well. We said this is more like a workflow management system. It defines the collaboration patterns. Controls the task assignment, and the manages interactions. Then we have the task itself. And the task itself, one thing is very key. It must have a clear objective. It must use specific tools and then feed into a larger process and then produce actionable results. Now, how does it work? How it all works together? The first one is the crew AI. The crew organizes the overall operations, while the second one is AI agent works in specialized tasks. The process ensures smooth collaboration. Tasks gets completed to achieve goals. So now these are some of the things that you should take note of. We have role-based agents, we have flexible tools, intelligent cooperation, collaboration, and then we have task management. I'm trying to see how to speed up the theoretical aspect so we can move into the practical. So we have Crew AI framework overview where we have code for Crew, the Crew, which is actually done to. We also have the states. I'm not leaving that out as well. So we have the explanation for each of them. You can go through the website to get more details about it. When to use Crew versus Flow. Okay, let me just come back here and then explain what flows are. We said, okay, I think I've actually passed the structured workflow orchestration. Don't worry, we'll come back to that probably when we go into the practical itself rather than taking much more time. I have just a few minutes more. Now we have the decision framework. When do we actually choose Creo, or when does Creo work? You need automation, problem solving, creative collaboration, or exploratory task. You make use of the decision framework. Then you also choose flow when you require deterministic outcome, audacity, and then precise control over execution. You already know what the results will be. So, and at the end of the day, you want the results to achieve what exactly you want to achieve, while the other one has to do with something autonomous and probably a creative kind of decision making needed to be done. That's when you use Scrum, while the flow has to do with you have something that you have something in mind, more like a determined stuff in mind, and you want a result that actually aims towards what you have in mind. Then you can also combine the two when your application needs both structured process and pockets of autonomous intelligence. So why choose Creo AI? One of them is the fact that you can actually perform autonomous operations. Agents makes intelligent systems based on their roles and available tools. I think this was what I was looking for because I knew that I've read it somewhere before. These aspects whereby you have based on their roles. This is actually key, based on their roles. So that's this, you can have multiple roles and the likes. So then you have natural interactions. Agents communicate and collaborate like human team members. Then you can actually use to build a production ready or built for ready reliability and scalability in real world application. So now let's see how we can actually build the first crew and then build the first flow, install Creo AI, quick start, join the community. Okay. Now let's go into the installation process. I think that might be a little bit technical. I believe some of you here might actually have a very good knowledge on how to write Python, how to work on Linux environments, if I'm right. If you know how to work on Python environment, can I just see you signify? Have you worked on Linux environment before? Okay. Okay, thank you. I think Joel actually said that he has worked on Linux environment. Victor as well, same thing. Okay, yeah. So now, okay. So for those who actually use Mac OS, they shouldn't have issues, or MacBook, they shouldn't have issues at all. While although there are some Mac that is just install, what you have access to is the GUI environment. So for this, for the purpose of these demonstrations, I think I'll be making use of making use of Visual Studio Code for the installations, while at the same time, we'll make use of the PyCharm for the application we intend to build. That's one. Or we can even make use of Visual Studio Code, probably for the sake of those who don't have PyCharm and probably want to tag along. Or don't worry, there will always be time to actually practicalize some of this. So you could just decide to follow my screen to see what I'm doing and then see how the results will unfold itself. So let's use Visual Studio Code for the sake of those who might not really have PyCharm on their system. So I want to share my entire screen so I can navigate easily. between the two. Okay, let me see. Let's go about it. Okay, so I'm sharing my entire screen so that you can all have access to it. Now, I believe you can all see my screen right now. Now, so this is what we'll be doing. We'll try to see how we can actually follow the documentation to see what we can come up with. Now, this is actually very important. I would have actually come up with a slide for the purpose of this presentation, but I choose not to due to the fact that there is an installation guide on their platform, and most of the time I prefer a station whereby if I'm dealing with something that has to do with a certain platform and I'm sticking with that platform, I prefer to go through their installation guide or their documentation. And the reason for that is, especially when I'm training people, I prefer if I go with the installation guide. So that it will be something easier for you to relate with it when the time goes and then you want to achieve something. So now going through the installation guide, I shared my screen into two so that I can see the installation guide on the left-hand side and then see the, what's it called? My Visual Studio Code on the right hand side. So now looking at this, we will have a video there to put you through, probably for those who might actually get tired of reading the text, but we'll be going with the text. Now, the first thing is it's expected that you actually use Python because on the platform itself, Python was actually used. Well, it's expected you know how to use Python if you're going to work in Creo. And I believe most of the time, if you look out there, when you're working with anything that has to do with LLM, machine learning, and the likes, most people tend to use Python to do some of these things, especially when it comes to anything scientific. Well, I know that some days back or some years back, people use MATLAB, but I think it is, I don't know, but I also used it one time, but I seem to get along with Python more these days. So the first thing is if you've not installed Python, you can always install Python. But before that, you can always check if you have Python. So let me see. All you just need to do is to just copy and paste what you have on your left-hand side and then put on what you have on your right-hand side. So this is just to check my Python version because Python is a #1 requirement on the platform. So you must actually have you must be able to see that, okay, fine, you have Python installed on it. Sorry, hold on. Uh, sorry. I have Python installed, so what's going on? Okay, let me close one of them. Now, so to check if we have Python installed. Now, I think for Creo I think the lowest version you could actually have that will work is 2 point something, while the highest version is probably 3 points. Okay, fine. I think it has even increased. Initially, it used to be 2 points. So you can see here, we said Creo requires version 3.1 to 3.14 for it to work. And you can see that I have 3.13.3 here because I just installed Python again this year after a long time. So if you want to check the version you have, all you just need to do is to type in your Python, then dash dash version, or you can use Python dash dash v. Oh, sorry. I think Linux environment, I think. Oh, sorry, let's go with the documentation so that we can actually see what is being used. So, and looking at what is being used, we actually make use of Python 3, then that dash version. So now for those who don't actually have Python installed on their system, you can actually go ahead to click on this python.org/download. It will take you to the Python official page whereby you read the documentation, download it, and then install it on your system. And don't forget, there's something key, the path. the path should be properly set as well, which is actually very, very important. You can see the releases, how they've been releasing over time and the likes. So that is just that about that. Now, then the next thing that we need to install to be able to have something work is this UV. There's UV, it's more of a dependency management and package handling tool. So, and it actually simplifies project setup and execution, offering a seamless experience for those who actually who have been using probably JavaScript frameworks and the like. Now, there's something called NPM, there's something called Yarn that you use. So for this one, you make use of something called UV. And for the UV, you can see from the documentation here, you have a way to install the UV itself, either on Mac OS or Linux. You have a way to install on Windows as well. So for those who don't have it, you could also go ahead to install. But let me see if, so let's try to see the version I have. Version UV, sorry, hold on. Let me see the steps here. Let's try to install and see. I believe I have it installed already, so. I'm actually using a Windows system, so let me try to see if I can get that. Yeah, so on Windows, this is for Windows. I was actually using the Mac OS aspect. So this is for Windows. All I just need to do, and you can see that I'm actually making use of my PowerShell to be able to achieve this. So, and from the documentation, all I just need to do is to copy this for those using Windows, and for those using Mac OS or Linux environment, I'll just use the ones on top here. While for Windows, I'm actually making use of this. So by the time I click on this enter here, it does the downloading and installation of UV. So let's wait a few minutes for it to be done with. So after that, the next thing that is expected is installation of CreoAI itself. Installation of CreoAI itself. So now this is a command to actually run CreoAI. So run the following command to install CreoAI. And if you encounter a part, because well, it's possible that you encounter a part error, but one thing that it does is to give you a suggestion on the part, either to restart or to tell you to probably copy a certain code that is recommended and then you paste it and run it. So, which is one of the things that it will actually tell you to do. So, and to verify if your CreoAI is installed, you go ahead by pasting this UV tool list. So, and now from here, it will actually try to check for the packages that are actually there. So you see everything is installed. So let's go to the next one, which has to, you have UV2. I'm trying to save time. You know, would have been typing some of these things, but those are to put some minutes to 9 or 9. So probably might be able to do the installation today. While the next time, I think the assignment will be for everybody to install CreoAI and then look at the workflow. What do they have? And from there, you can even go ahead to continue from the documentation. And that's the essence for going with the documentation or going with the flow in the documentation. So now let's try to see how we can actually install the CreoAI. It says, and if type is not recognized, the is, let's see, am I not using PowerShell? Okay, this is not difficult. Let's just use command prompts. Let's see if we can achieve the same thing with command prompts. Yeah, so you can actually achieve the same thing with command prompts if PowerShell is giving issues. So thank God that we're actually encountering such issues. For those that will say that probably you tried installing and then they were getting issues, I think and I believe every system has command prompts. So, and all you can just do is to open your Windows and then type in your command prompts and then it takes you there, command prompts. or you use your Windows R and then type in CMD there. So with this, it installs all the packages involved for the Creo AI. That's what we are doing at the moment. So in case you run through an issue like this, there are always ways around it. So, and the way out for this, I just closed the PowerShell and then tried to use the command prompt to go about that. So I think there are some comments here. Okay, somebody is asking. Okay, let me start with this first person. The person said, what was the error you got before fixing it with Linux? For which of them? You can just reply your message. Joe, you can just reply your message. I think I need to get what you're actually saying there. I think this message was dropped probably 10 minutes ago. Then if Python dash version does not work for you, you can try, okay, there's an alternative there to actually try if the Python dash version doesn't work. So I'm waiting for Joe to actually, this is still going on at the moment. So we're just dealing with installation. So yes, you can actually use Jupyter Notebook. Yeah, I think can use Jupyter Notebook. But the thing is, if you're going to make use of Jupyter Notebook, you'll be doing some form of importing. We're importing the way it is. You'll be importing some of these packages. You import the Creo AI stuff and the like. So I've never tried to use Jupyter Notebook for this, but it's something possible. Okay. I was thinking the question was for me. So um, well, for Google Colab, like I said, I've not tried using it, but I believe as long as the Python environment or Python text editor, it should be able to work. You can try it. There's always something to learn in trying something new. So thank you for bringing that up. So the installation itself is taking a while. So that's why in a way I'm actually assuming that we might actually stop at the point of installation. So Creo is actually going, depending on your network, and my network is even is relatively fast. And so you can actually verify if it is installed using this UV tool list, and then to list out some of the tools, and then you get this, you should see something like this. So, and if you need to update, probably you already have one before, probably a lower version or something, you can always use this to actually update. Then, so the next thing is to create a project. So which is what we'll be doing next. So let's wait and see while this, let's wait and see, let's try to see how it can actually get completed. So it's still a work in progress. It's still a work in progress. But pending that time, if you have any question, you can always drop it in the comment section while we visit it. Yeah, I think Dr. Yanu raised that if you have your resume if you build Shopify websites and like, you can always put down, you can drop your resume, and I think the email was dropped admin at Wokkah.com also. Yes, when you use command prompt, you can just paste the code from, the code from Creo website. Yeah. And that was what I did. If you notice very well, I didn't type it myself. And one of the reasons why I'm trying to save time, why I'm trying to look at typing, because it's something I could have just started looking at it at the left-hand side and then started typing it. But I just need to see how I can copy. And if you look at the website itself, the Creo website itself, they don't even expect you to start typing when you can actually use the copy button here. There's a copy button there that you can actually use for that. So error with the Creo, okay. So I don't think that's for me. let's see what we have. Still a work in progress. I think what I should have done is I should have installed it even before now. I'm trying to see how to run it with you guys, because I know that a couple of people might actually have or encounter an error in one way or the other. I'm waiting for it to be done. Okay, I think since the installation is still going on, I think let me just try to see I can explain some parts for us. So just the same way we're actually installing the Creo.ai, the Creo AI stuff. Once we are done, the next thing is to actually create a project, create a Creo AI project, and it has a file structure. This will be generated for you. You have a folder that has the name of the project you actually specified, and then has um, these folders or this file. So, and at the same time has a folder like this. This is a folder. I think this should be probably for those who actually write code, the backend developers, front-end developers. You should be familiar with something related to this even before now. So, and when you get to see such, please don't be scared. Don't be scared. So, I think what we can just do is I think what we can just do is to see how we can actually probably stop here because installation is taking longer than expected. I should have actually installed it um, before coming out here to present. But since Dr. Yan has actually said that we can actually stop, we can continue next week. So I think we can actually stop here for those who have not installed to actually take their time to install as well. So by next week, everybody will be on something, we'll be working on something. We'll try to see how we can actually build something for ourselves. So now I think let me just give probably one or two examples. The first one or two assignment. The first one is for everyone to try to install this themselves. Then the second one is try to see if you can actually make some form of automations, probably for email generations. Let's take, for example, now sending out emails from periodically, not just send out one email. But the thing is, what is expected is try to say you can actually build an AI and an agent inside that would actually try to see how to compose the mail itself in a more professional way. And one thing that you should have at the back of your mind is don't forget that some of these things as well, they also learn from a memory. So there are situations or there are scenarios. Probably if you go through the next documentation on how to um, build the first project, you will see something related to that, whereby you have to actually construct sentences that make sense before running for each of these things. So I think with the permission of Mr. Iyano, I think we can actually stop okay, let me just attend to some of the questions. Okay, someone said my Creo AI has successfully been installed and will continue some other time this week. Does the Creo AI come with all tools? Do we have to install Creo AI tools separately? Okay. Yeah, from the code, you need to, I don't know. I'm just trying to see how to install it for you guys. And I would have actually all of these questions by trying to see how we can actually check the tools itself. So it's almost done, but we have limited time to finish. So I think, is there any other library? Is there any other framework or library we need for the hackathon apart from Creo? I think the first thing is try to install the Creo stuff itself. So once you're done with it, okay. Okay, finally, I think. I think Dr. Iyanu and Mr. IBK will get back to you if there's going to be any other class, but the plan is to see how we can continue from the next class. So, Mr. Iyanu, please, I'm handing over to you. I think I've answered as many as possible questions. You can see that at the end of the day, you should have something like this. You should have something like this at the end of the day. Please take note of that for everyone so that we can actually see how to continue what we are working on. So, Mr. Ibokun.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Isaac.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time. Let's appreciate Mr. Isaac this evening. It's a lot for him to be online this time of the night and teaching us. Thank you so much, Mr. Isaac.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, so if you have questions, you can still drop that in the chat section so that you can respond to that before we call it a day tonight. Someone said, please, where did you click to get this on installation on QPI website? Mr. Isaac, can you answer to that, please?
Okay, let me just share my screen again so that you can actually see how to go about that. Let me see, where's my browser? Just a second. Yeah, so now I think to get the documentation itself, that was one of the first things I said. Just go on your browser, type for the website, to get the website, type AI. The first I will see that. I believe you can all see that. Now the second result we pointed out. So that's the documentation page. And that is see the steps, the guidelines, how to go about everything. Don't worry. I believe once you're able to do one project, you will see that it is actually very interesting and something very, very easy to work with. At first, it might look complicated, might look difficult, especially if you see that it's something you get used to on a day-to-day activity. And myself, I will also try my possible best to see how to explain in layman how to do something practical as well that you can relate with. So I think I've answered the question, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Isaac. Thank you. I don't think we have any other questions in the chat section. All right, so just a quick reminder that Wokkathon itself starts on the 15th of August, meaning next week, Friday, Wokkathon itself will start. I would share the link to us on the WhatsApp group again so that we can go through the details of the Wokkathon so that we are more prepared for the Wokkathon itself. Yeah, I think that will be all from me tonight. Since we don't have more questions, we can call it a day. Okay, all right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Let's have a beautiful night's rest. Good night.